Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 565. I'm Bryan Cohen from Best Page Forward. I'm so excited to welcome our guest today, Vanessa Vale, a Western romance author and the creator of Thrifty Tips for Authors. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh my goodness. I'm happy you're here because here's the funny thing. So I met Vanessa at the Pacific Northwest Writers Conference, and I've now had three wonderful people from that conference, yourself included, Cindy Dees and Matt Dinneman. So three people at that wonderful speaker dinner we had and chatting. But I thought you were somebody different for some reason, because when I reached out to you, you were like, I already know you.
My
And I
personality
totally
is
forgot.
so big that I'm two people.
You're larger than life.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. So we come to you at this very interesting time where you have taught for some amount of time, for years. You've taught this amazing method of people going wide in lots of different ways and having their book available in different formats and different translations, and making it such a process, a simplified as possible process, so that you're protected against life to a certain extent. And this past year, life happened, unfortunately, in a big way, and it made you have to pivot in a lot of ways than you were used to.
Right. And one thing to add is the thrifty word to it is that everything that I share or do myself is thrifty, either low cost or free. I don't do ads. And so this is kind of ironic, since you do ads. I don't do ads. And so everything I share and do myself is built off of things that are outside of things that cost money.
Right. Which is amazing. I mean, so many I've been to webinars, I've been to things where they're like, hey, learn to do this, but you're also going to have to buy this $200 software to do it, or you're going to have to learn how to do this. And so, I mean, I know everyone on the show certainly appreciates thrifty tips.
Well, and the challenge is when you listen to an author for their success and how they did it. One thing that even I always listen for is how much they made versus how much they spent. That's always a big challenge. A lot of times people say I made X number of dollars, but they don't mention that they spent almost all of that on ways to promote themselves to make that money. So I am opposite of that, because I want to, if I'm going to talk the talk, I want to walk the walk. And so my expenses consistently are between 6 and 9% total. So that means for every dollar I make, I keep between 94 and 91 cents. So I don't spend tons of money to make money.
What inspired you to take this approach when so many authors take the I need to push a button to spend ads, and I need to learn Facebook, and I need to learn Amazon, and I need to learn TikTok ads? What inspired you to go in that direction?
I lost my Facebook ad account. That was the start of it. It was back in probably, I'm going to say 2017. Don't quote me. Sometime a long time ago. I lost my ad account. They shut it down. Who knows why? I put up something, a toenail or who knows what, that they found inappropriate, and it got taken down. So therefore, any ads that I was doing, which was not remotely extensive even, I couldn't do it. That avenue was completely shut down. I hit a dead end. I had to think of other ways to promote myself. And so I looked into marketing tasks, activities, tools that were sturdy and were mine, that belonged to me, owned by me. For example, Facebook ads are not mine. Yes, I can put them up, but they can be yanked at any time. And so they are not mine to work with. I'm sort of borrowing the platform to promote myself. So I want to make sure that I have as many things as I I want to use as many things as I can to promote myself with products that belong to me. So, for example, my newsletter list can't be taken away.
Right. Right. I mean, I've been beating the newsletter drum for quite some time because, like, as we know, relatively recently, well, as we record this episode, TikTok went away for 14 hours. And
Right.
a lot of people they're growing their plants on someone else's land. And
Right.
that is not the case with email.
And TikTok's an interesting one for me because it straddles both areas of what I like and don't like. One, TikTok is free. You
Yep.
can work your rump off and dance or show teasers or whatever you want to try to get that algorithm to work and get in front of as many people as possible for nothing. So it's great. I think it's an excellent tool for that. The other side is doesn't belong to you. It's very easy to have your account shut down, or it's very easy to, what's it called, when your account sort of just, but it doesn't die. It's
a shadow band.
It stops working or whatever it is. And so that happens like on a whim so easily that that's why I think TikTok is exceptional, because it is a thrifty option. But putting all your eggs in that basket could be dangerous, because if it did go away and you don't have any other way to promote yourself, then you are really in trouble.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And
the only way, I'm not saying that's the only way. If it's one of your options, that's a different story.
Right. Right. Do you worry, I mean, or have you in the past worried that if we're doing a lot of things that are lower cost, but take hard work, things that are going to take hours, they take less money, but that might mean they take more time. Is there ever the concern that we're going to be so focused on setting all that up that it'll take 80 hours a week to be as thrifty as possible?
I think that one of the things we have to be cautious of is not just thrifty monetarily, but thrifty with our time, and being efficient with it. So if, as you mentioned, something takes a mass amount of time, you aren't doing something else. Therefore, the time it takes for you to do that might not be worth it, because you are skipping something else that could actually make you money, like writing a book, for example. However, on the other hand, it's possible that something that you're talking about is a lot of work up front. It's like the TV infomercial, set it and forget it. It's possible that you're setting something up so that you can set it up once and then you forget about it because it is put in place and it's sturdy. So that's a different option. But one thing I want to circle back to is being thrifty in not just money, but in your personal time, and also in your emotional bank. Because if you are burnt out, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, if you hate doing something, then it's going to take 2-3 times as long. You're not going to want to do it, and it's not going to be worth it. So there's a balance between making something thrifty and making something emotionally and time-wise thrifty as well.
I love this idea of emotional thrift. I feel like
it's a big one right now for me.
Right. It's absolutely something that we need to focus on, and that we can't ignore at the expense of we made an extra $1,000 this month, but we worked ourselves to the bone and we can't get out of bed.
Right. Exactly. Or you hate doing something. Like, for example, TikTok's not my favorite at all.
Yeah.
Would it be more prudent for me to hire somebody to help me with it so that I can take that emotional burden and time off of me, as well as the time it would take to tackle the project, which might be twice as long because I don't like it, versus someone else who is swift at it because they are talented and skilled and it's their personality? That would be an example. I'm not saying I do that, but I think everyone who tries TikTok can understand what their fit is with that. Me, not a song and dancer.
Yeah. I am, but it's tough for me to stay consistent with things. And so that makes it difficult for me.
Right.
But, I've got the jazz hands if I need them. Awesome. Well, we're going to talk more about this. I
Okay.
want to get into previous week's question, which was, do you want TikTok to stay or go, and why? A couple of our listeners chimed in. Jeffrey Mason said, it is way down on my list to worry about. However, I do use it to sell more product. Liberty Hart said, I'm not on it, nor will I be. Whether it's sold or not, I'm not interested in the Chinese government keeping any more tabs on me than they already are. And Karen Heenan said, the circus of this past week felt manipulative. I know TikTok has been good for a lot of authors, but I'm glad I never invested the time. Do you feel like, Vanessa, you have any emotional stake on whether it stays or goes, or this is something you conscientiously abstain from?
Keeping away from the political aspects of it, just whether it disappears or not, it was in a way kind of a relief, like, oh, I don't have to post anything today. So I would say that it does remove an option that I would have to tackle, a task that I have to do. Would it go, if it went away, would it be a good thing? From a marketing standpoint, I have had my own jazz hands. I've had one post go viral.
Yep.
And it had, to me, it's viral. It had like 650,000 views, which I think is exceptionally great. And because of that, I have seen an uptick in sales. Therefore, I have personal proof that it has helped me. Can I do it again? I'm trying. It doesn't really work that well. So if it goes away, it would limit an option if I was able to song and dance well again.
Yeah, I love the way you put this, because it really is the song and dance app. Well, thank you for your thoughts on it too. And folks, you can always share your answers to the question of the week in the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group or at sellmorebookshow.com. Let's go into the top story that we've already talked about off the air. You and I don't have huge opinions on this, but we're going to cover it. We're going to get through it. Then we'll get to some lightning round fun. This story is called New App Sane Ebooks. Bookshop.org has begun selling ebooks with all authors welcome, reports Jane Friedman in the Hot Sheet. Bookshop has been a popular alternative online bookstore since 2020, with print book purchases supporting the independent bookstore community. And now Bookshop has started selling ebooks too, allowing readers to support independent bookstores beyond print. Ebooks purchased through Bookshop can be read in the Bookshop app or using a browser. Quote, bookstores will be able to sell digital books directly from their own websites, reports Alexandra Alter of the New York Times, and all profits from digital sales will go to stores, end quote. Could this be a new challenger to the big online retailers? Quote, most independent bookstores simply ceded the ebook market to Amazon, says the Times, but Bookshop's Andy Hunter says he's wanted to offer ebooks from the beginning. Quote, independent bookstores already had a way to sell digital ebooks through Libro.fm, but no one had found a good solution for digital books, digital audiobooks rather, in that quote. The current ebook catalog is live, but mostly traditionally published books. But the good news is authors who publish through Draft to Digital will be able to sell their ebooks through Bookshop too. This feels, Vanessa, like, to me, it's one of those good ideas that I have no idea if it would make any kind of a difference. I want to support local bookshops. If I buy the traditionally published ebook that I would have bought from Amazon from them, and the Bookshop app is at least comparable to the Kindle app, I feel like giving a little bit back to the local bookstore is good. But by the same token, changing a consumer's behavior is almost impossible. If they like reading in the Kindle app, they're going to read in the Kindle app. So, or on their Kindle device, which I assume you wouldn't be able to really do that easily through Bookshop. So, I mean, knowing that, hey, I don't know Bookshop that well, you don't know Bookshop that well. Any thoughts on just the general concept here of this app being something that bookstores can offer?
How about, I look forward to seeing how it works out.
I like that.
At this point, I will go with that. I can't wait to hear more. Yeah,
no, absolutely. To spin this hot potato wisdom question I have listed here for you, some of the method you've taught over time is there is this feeling of being ever present, right? Omnipresent. being in a variety of stores, in a variety of places, in a variety of retailers with a variety of translations. Do you think that as things come about, like, I don't know much about Libro FM, but it's mentioned in this article for the audiobooks, things like this that are new retailers that are offered by someone like Draft to Digital, in kind of the method of being omnipresent, does it ever make sense to spend the time to have your book available in an unproven platform like thebookshop.org?
I think absolutely, because you never know until you try. I have 85 plus books in
Yep.
English, and then I also
Yep.
publish them to other foreign languages. So multiplying that by 4 or 6, it's a lot of books. So I'm not going to sit around and upload 300-400 books to a new platform. However, I might upload one sturdy English series that I have, like a most recent one, or one that does the most business or income for me, and put that one up there. It might take me, I'll say, an hour to upload 3, 5, 7, 9 books, however many are in the series, to that store, and then just letting it sit there. Because when you set it up, you have to put in your banking information and all the other stuff, and you'll get a royalty report from them. Sometimes you get a royalty report for 36 cents. Sometimes you get it for $36. Sometimes you get it for $3,600. So you'll know when it's worth taking a second peek at. Like, whoa, wait a second. How did I make it go from 36 to 3,600? Because it's actually a good choice of a platform for me and my books.
I love that.
I put it up as a signal for success. So then if it starts taking off, I'm like, I should put another series up. And if it keeps going, you add more and more things.
That's great. Yeah. Because I mean, we had Willow Winters on the show a few episodes ago, and she and her team have done that really well with different social media platforms.
Right.
Is to always have a presence on a new social media platform.
Right.
Which is why she has 700,000 TikTok followers, because
Right.
she started back in the beginning.
Right. She has the same concept of me as completely opposite. So if we put the two of us together, we would be well versed and well covered.
I know, the social box and the book box.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. One of these days, maybe I'll find a way.
I'll give her a
get
holler
you guys
and
together.
say, hey.
Hey, we should talk. Yeah. It's a peanut butter chocolate situation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Love it. The second question in the hot potatoes of wisdom is for me, if you want to ask that to me.
Oh, I don't have a pull up on the screen, so you're going to have to ask it to yourself.
I'm going to ask it to myself.
Yep.
But you'll be ready for the next one.
We'll pretend I'm asking you.
I love it. So the question here for Vanessa asked me is, what would it take for another online store to take a significant cut from Amazon? Keeping in mind what I just said about it's very hard to get consumers to change behavior. I've said this from the beginning. Offer a higher royalty. Offer more than 70% to at least get your foot in the door. 80%, 90%, 100% with some other way of making the money. Have it be that enticing to authors that they start using it, they start promoting it to their readers, then it can take off. If you're always playing from behind on Amazon that it's never going to be higher than 70%, you will never get that attention. That is my opinion.
That sounds reasonable to me too.
Yes, agreement. I love it. We don't need it on the show. You're allowed to disagree with me, so that's totally fine. But I'll take it.
I'll take more than 70%.
Exactly. Me too. Me too. All right, Vanessa, we're ready. We've got the lightning round.
Okay.
This is the fun Foley sound opportunity.
Okay.
For your best stormy sound.
Yes, he did not give me much notice, so this is going to be up.
Ooh, that's good. With no notice? I thought that was exceptional.
Thank you.
For no notice.
It's my good TikTok time.
Oh, yes. Your song and dance. Your song and dance. So, Vanessa, when do you think authors might want to consider translations?
The top one is when they have money to pay for it. Do not invest in something like audio or translations unless you have the income to do so. It is expensive, and it is possible you won't get your money back. So it's kind of like an ad where you might not actually get money back. However, the chances of it happening are pretty high. So I'll say 1, money, Two, it would be if you have a completed series. You want to have, I always say when someone's starting out, they write their first book and you're like, now what? Should I do ads and whatever? And I always say, no, one book is a dead end. Because if a reader finds your book and loves it, and there's nothing else for you to give to them, they're going to move on to someone else. The one thing that readers are is fickle. So if they, even if they loved you and you've got nothing else, they're not going to stick around because they want to keep reading. And if they can't keep reading you, they're going to read somebody else. You're not a competition with the other people. You just aren't offering them anything else. So you need more books. So I would have an entire series completed before you even started a translation so that you can give them more than one book. That's where you make your money. Also, another thing would be to have your English set up, not the actual book, but your English marketing presence set up on point. Like you need to be confident with it. You need to be like, this is good. There's no real holes in it. Is it like perfect? Absolutely not. I mean, really, we're never going to be perfect and it's always going to be changing, but you feel confident in your email. You feel confident in your website. You feel confident in your covers. You feel confident in your bio. You feel confident in your brand look, all of those things, because you're going to be duplicating it from English into a foreign language. And if you aren't on point in English, you're going to be having to fix it in the other language because you're going to have to fix it in English and then that language. Or it's not going to be that successful because if you're not on point in English, the only difference between someone in English reads your English book and say reading a German book is that they read in German. That's it. They still want quality newsletters. They want quality website. They want quality covers. They want everything. The only difference is the language.
I might do a follow-up on this because this is also something that I talked to Lisa Vino about, who was talking, basically quoting from your Thrifty Tips for Authors course and box method of just having that newsletter, having that marketing be translated. Is you've got translations are happening and the top 1% of the top 1% are doing them and doing them well. And so I feel like it's an additional top 1% of 1% of 1% who are then actually marketing in these other languages well. How did you decide that, I'm just going to be marketing everywhere in every language that I publish it?
I started doing translations back in 2017. Back in the dark ages of translations. So I will say one thing that helps me was I started early not in the process, but in the timeline of
translations
of romance books being converted to other languages.
Right.
That helped substantially. I had money not set aside, but I had money that I could set aside for translations. I had lots of series in place. I was also willing to risk a series, the money that's involved in getting a series translated to do so. I also, based off of the fact that I'm running a Thrifty Tips group on building bricks of a foundation of a sturdy author house, that I had them already in place in English, I was able to literally drag and drop, copy and paste my website pages that I wanted to convert to a different language into Word documents to give to my translators. I identified the parts and pieces that needed to be translated. I set up templates for what I needed to convert, for example, front and back matter. A newsletter that says, a new release email, having text that is standard and consistent for that I don't have to have translated over and over again. And I can just repurpose it. Getting all of those things in place, just right in English, as I mentioned before, and then giving them the translator for, say, German, then I could literally make identical pages on my website or identical newsletters for my German people.
Yeah. I love that. I'm a big fan of templates. And so if you've got the English templates in good shape, the German ones, the Spanish ones will be too.
And by a template, I don't mean literally like a form online or a spreadsheet or something. I'm talking about my website is set up with good navigation, and it's got books, and it's got a bio, and it's got links to how to contact me, and it's got store links, and all of that is set up in English. When I want to, technically my English is the template for the other languages.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. I love that. All right, we're on to lightning round question 2. You've got a
That
question
wasn't very
here
lightning,
for me.
sorry. You asked me
Oh,
a very
no,
big
no.
question.
Well, it was a great storm, a
Okay.
wonderful storm. All right, second question over to me.
You'll have to ask it of yourself.
Okay, you don't have it. Okay.
I don't have it up, and I'm afraid if I push a button on my computer that you're going to go away.
Everything will blow up.
Right.
Well, we'll get it right for episode 2. I'm excited. Okay. So, question here was, how should you handle when translators or small businesses reach out to you cold via email, so out of the blue? It can be tempting whenever someone emails in, especially with a something that sounds really good, to immediately believe them and start the conversation with them. But you always need to look for independent sources of verification. I always recommend looking this person up, seeing if you can find someone else that worked with them, because it is, the Victoria Strauss's writer beware exists for a reason, because there are people who scam out there. There are people who will take your money and then you will never see them again. And so you always want to make sure you get reviews, you get someone who has specifically worked with that person, talk to them, make sure that they're not misquoting someone in a review. I've had people quote me for their courses and I've only sort of taken them. And so you never really know. Get it from the horse's mouth, because otherwise you might find yourself in a bad situation. I've got a question now for you here. Okay. So, Vanessa, how does an author avoid overwhelm when they are starting to create this process for themselves? They are having the getting everything set up really well in English. They're using that as the template to move over to these other languages. They're trying to set themselves up. Authors do get overwhelmed, especially when they're also trying to write the book. So how does one avoid this?
Avoiding it would be to identify what are the sturdy things. I use the word sturdy a lot. Sturdy things that really need to be done, like the meat and potatoes of your author brand strategy: newsletter, website, front and back matter, writing the book, quality covers, consistent branding for a look of an author. Like by that I mean like your the font of your author name on the front of your books, if you want them consistent across every book, so that they recognize you by that word, first and last name, and the font styling, as an example. All of that is set it and forget it. It's sturdy stuff that is enduring forever. It will work for you in the background, and identifying those and putting your time and effort into those and getting that set up is crucial, because once it's set up, you can sort of forget about it or make tweaks to it very slowly. The things that take tons of time that are fads or shiny objects that people are like, well, I'm doing great in this. Well, they might be doing great in that, but you don't have the background picture, like what's going on under the top of the iceberg, under the water. So identifying things that are really, really crucial from author to author to author that you talk with. You could ask your author friends or even author strangers in a Facebook group or something that authors bounce ideas off of. If you polled something like, what's the top 10 things that you do that to grow your author brand business that's the most important to you? I bet if you asked 100 people and everyone put them down and you plugged them in and did the poll, that there's going to be very consistent, sturdy ones that pop out over and over again, and a few random flashy things.
Right. Yeah, no, and being able to identify what's the flashy thing versus what's the sturdy thing is something we have to develop over time.
Right. And so does it eliminate the stress? No, but I think it gives you calm in that you're putting your time and effort into the things that will sustain you.
It's the index fund versus the crypto. That's
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, of course, I can tell. Also, so the next question here for me is, how should authors avoid other types of overwhelm, like creative burnout? Claire Taylor used to co-host this podcast with me, and I was always inspired by her. She's still alive and stuff, so don't worry. I'm still inspired by her to this day. She rests. She'll take weeks off. She'll take a month off if she needs to. She'll rest. How do you avoid creative burnout? You rest. Yeah. And if you say, well, I don't have time for that, it's like, well, life will make time for that for you at some point in some way, shape, or form.
That's true.
And so you rest. That is the best way I know, at least. Last question of the lightning round, Vanessa. What do you think is the most common or what is a common mistake authors make when they're trying to make a full-time living?
One, I could just say what I just said before about making sure you focus on the right things. Or if it's making a mistake, it'd be focusing on the wrong things. Not having a good setup put in place to move forward. Because the more books you build, the bigger you're going to grow. If you don't have a solid foundation, your house is going to crumble.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I love your house metaphor all the way from basement to ceiling, by the way, because it's such a good way of explaining how to create a career. So you did good there. I don't know how many people tell you, but you did really good there. You're welcome. All right, we're towards the end of this show here. We need to come up with a question of the week. It could be related to anything we have discussed here. It could be related to marketing in other languages.
I got one.
I'm ready.
I got one.
I'm ready.
It's kind of on subject, but not.
Oh, that's great.
January takes forever. Literally, it's like 27 weeks long. And so we're finally into February. Have you, as an author, looked at each month on the calendar to see which is your strongest selling month? And how are you using that to your advantage? And on the opposite, which months are your weakest months? And how are you using that as well? For example, in the past, October was always my weakest month. And so I knew going in that would be a great month to go on vacation. But I know that my personal strongest months are like April, May, and June. That means I got to put a book out. But when I poll people on this, I get completely different months. It's really fascinating to see. And so there's no right or wrong answer on what the month is. It's more along the lines of, have you identified what months are strongest and weakest for you and whether you are using them to your advantage?
I love this so much. The way I've described this is, now that we're into February, have you as an author looked at each month on the calendar to see which are your best-selling months and how are you using this to your advantage? I'll say for sales. And how are you using your weakest month to your advantage for recovery?
Or maybe you need to put a sale out, that kind of thing. Those are just examples. I hope everyone here can look into that and think about it.
I love that question. I have asked a couple of coaching students a very similar question. So I love that. Y'all, you can answer that question at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group or at sellmorebookshow.com. Vanessa, I so appreciate that you were here today to do this. Thank you for sharing everything. Where is the best place for authors to see some of the wonderful tips you've given?
If you are interested in learning about building your author foundation with lots of sturdy bricks, you can go to thriftystipsforauthors.com for some mini classes that I have. But the best place to do it is the Facebook group, Thrifty Tips for Authors.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. It has been a delight to hear your amazing strategies. And we get to do this again, which is exciting. In podcast world, this will happen in 1 week. But for us, it'll happen in 5 seconds. So thank you again for your time today. I truly do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, folks, we will be back next week for episode 566. So for Vanessa, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.